Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today I am going to be taking a painting that was used as a practice painting for one of my art classes, and I am going to completely redo this painting. It wasn't my favorite. I think it was something like a still life. It was hard candy we were supposed to try and do an acrylic painting for. Wasn't something that I was super thrilled about. So instead of continuing to look at this thing and not being happy with it, I figured I would change it completely and make something brand new out of it. Have you ever had a painting that you created and you just hated it? You didn't like it, you thought it was ugly, and you don't know what to do with it? Well, recently I came across a whole bunch of started projects that I haven't worked on, so I figured instead of buying brand new canvases, I'm just gonna take these old paintings and make them something different. So right now I'm just doing, my normal coverage with different color paints. Right here I'm using cadmium yellow, crimson, and cadmium orange, and a little bit of magenta. Now I did like some of the texture and the color that was underneath with some of the blue hard candy that I had done the practice with. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of wiping away some of the paint so I can reveal some of the texture and color that was underneath. And I actually really did like the texture of the practice. Later on in the painting, you're gonna see that I use that texture to make the details stand out a little bit better. So this color I'm using is turquoise, and it's Amsterdam paint. I'm just doing my preliminary mark making with my palette knife, just trying to get some marks down and be expressive with the palette knife. There was a series of paintings that I did, very similar to this one. Some of them I used a blank canvas for, some of them I painted over top of something I didn't like. With these paintings, it really did give good practice with the palette knife. Just laying down marks, different ways of holding the palette knife. There are different types of palette knives. As you can see, this one kind of has a diagonal edge. So you can make, different marks. There's other palette knives that are smaller, some that have rounded edges. You can do flat mark making, using the flat surface of the palette knife. You can do straight lines like I'm doing right now. It depends on which palette knife you use. They're going to give you different marks depending on which palette knife that you use. So here I switched over to the sponge. I did use a lot of sponge work in this one, so I was using cadmium red to pull the color forward. Now this was in the midst of learning a little bit more about color theory that I hadn't learned in a school or a college setting, which I thought was interesting. When they teach you the color wheel, they teach you about cool colors and warm colors. And most people hear that cool colors are blues, greens, purples, and your warm colors are your reds, yellows, and oranges. Well, what I learned recently really helped my compositions, really helped using color. Because on one of the pieces, I could not understand why the color I was using would not recede. It was a dark purple. What I've been taught is that purple, especially dark purple, should recede. But it wasn't, it was actually coming forward. And what I learned was there are cool reds and warm reds. There's also cool blues and warm blues. Your warm blues are going to come forward on the painting. Your cool blues are going to recede. The same is true with your reds, your yellows, your oranges, your greens, whatever colors you have. There are warm reds and there are cool reds. There are warm yellows and cool yellows. For instance, lemon yellow is a cool yellow versus cadmium yellow, which is a warm yellow. So the more I learned about these types of colors, the better it was to know which colors recede and which colors will come forward, and that helped me in determining which colors I mix to create a color that is either going to pop out or it's going to help to recede and push the other colors forward. From what I've heard, it's more predominant in oils that you have warms and cools, but it does actually play a part in acrylics. I'm telling you, when I changed how I used color based on that color theory, it really helped so much. If you look at what I'm doing right here, that red I put down is cadmium red, which means it's a warm red. So that red is actually coming forward versus the turquoise, which is a cool blue, that's actually receding, even though it's a lighter color and the red is a darker color. Interesting, right? Now at this point I was getting pretty close to being done, and I was concerned I was doing too much. So if you see me a little hesitant about putting down marks, I was just trying to think through where to put those marks so that it doesn't become super busy. And in that middle section, it really was becoming very busy. So I decided to take a little bit more paint and try and create a good shape versus a whole bunch of small marks. So if you see the blue that I'm using, which I believe it's either Windsor blue, which is a cool blue, or it's ultramarine blue, which would come forward because ultramarine blue is a warm blue. Now I'm doing the details. From the underpainting, I'm actually using those texture lines to give a gold shine on some of those texture lines. So it's actually creating some really interesting lines. didn't, again, want it to become super busy, I had to pick and choose which lines to accent. You definitely don't want to overdo it. As you're creating your lines, you want to take a step back frequently from your painting. That's part of the reason why with acrylics they have such long brushes that allows you to be able to make your marks and then step back from it to just see how the painting is progressing. It also allows you to become more expressive so that you're not like your hand position on the brush is not all the way down towards the tip of the brush, kind of how you're seeing me hold the brush right now. That's more for details, but when you're in the beginning and you're trying to create expressive lines, you want to hold your brush more towards the either the middle or the end of the brush. If you enjoyed the video and you want to see more, feel free to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.